Let's get that right first. Now, if you're into a bass fishing, you're in for a little bit of a treat, because probably not very often people get a take and a fight from a double figure bass on the spinning gear, recording on the cameras. As I recall to my big fish, 8, 9, nearly 10-pounder fish, most of them came into that technique. So what I'll do at the end of the video, I'll show you the fish firstly, and at the end of the video I'll tell you what do I think actually provoked that fish and what I think works for the big fish. So tune in, give it a like and enjoy the video. Now, a bit of a backstory first. I've been fishing for bass for a couple of years now, and since my very first fish I was absolutely fascinated by them, and I dreamt and dreamt about getting a big double figure bass on the lures. I've got quite a few 70s, plenty actually, and I've managed to get fish of a 914 and 915, 9 pounds 14 ounces, 9 pounds 15 ounces. They just couldn't, they didn't want to go over the 10 pounds that I really wanted them to go, because I'm a numbers man, and that would drive my fishing, the challenge. And I actually decided to take my fly rod with me and go for a bit of a practicing. So I've taken my fly rod with me, I've went down to the water range, 3 casts in, I broke my rod. So that was it, up back to a car. I've left my fly rod back in the car and taken the Skyline TZ that I always have in the back of my car. And I went for a second round, and I came across this pod of fish that I thought were mullet, and I think they were mullet, but there was a plenty of bass mixed into that, and I started casting into that group, and I'll show you what happened next. But one disclaimer, I apologize. As usual, when a big fish gets landed, I didn't have my GoPro, and I've absolutely messed up my settings on the other camera. So I wanted to record in a great quality, and I've put to 8K, and instead what happened is it zoomed in all the way in, and you will see that a lot of picture is cut, and I apologize for that, but I think the emotions, the hit, the fight, everything is so well worth showing it anyway. So I'll do that now, see what happens. And there was something special or unusual maybe that I've done to provoke that fish to hit the lure. Watch till the very end, because I think there might be something in it. I have no idea what are they feeding on. So many fish there.
just before I started recording. I must have had 8 or 9 or 10 takes by now. But they're feeding on something. I don't think they are going for my lures. I think they just want to scare the lure away. Because they think the competition for whatever they're feeding on. I think that's what's happening. Keep casting. Did you see that? That's probably fish number 4 or 5 that I lost. Now I do have a barbless singles, but I usually hold fish better because they are big barbless or big singles. And I still can't decide whether they're mullet or bass. But I did catch a bass. I've lost a few fish. So there might be few bass mixed with mullets. Or else their bass so much preoccupied with whatever they're feeding on that they're just not hitting it properly. They just try to push it away. That's what I think is happening. I'll keep trying. Not mullet, and they're feeding on something so hard they don't pay too much attention to my lures. I had a few hits, but I think they're trying to push away the lures as opposed to eat them because they're feeding on whatever. They're preoccupied with that. So surface lures did get some attention, but not quite many hookups. So I've put that Do Live Stick in my favorite color, the only color I own in this lures, and the first cast, proper hookup. So let's make another cast. That's why we use the teaser fly. If you don't know, if you still don't know anything about the teaser fly, click on the link in the description and in the video. Okay, that's why probably I wasn't getting many hookups, because these are tiny bass feeding on something hard. But I think the latest change of lures into a Do Live Stick and with the scissor fly, and we now have 2 fish and maybe 3 casts. But I'm traveling light. All I have with me is a small box with a hand selected couple of lures, something to cover the top, something to cover the bottom, and a few lures to work in between, couple of large lures, couple of tiny lures, just to be able to cover different options. I don't really have lures in different colors, same lures in different colors. I have plenty of different options, just a small box of lures, that's all I need. And with that, you've seen how hard it was to get the bite going, but with this small box of lures, I've managed to trick a couple of fish. The place is full of weed. They must be feeding on something that's in the weed, either a small shrimp or whatever it is there in that weed. That's what they're feeding on. That's why they're not really reacting to a bigger bites, because they're completely preoccupied with this. Before I turned on the camera, I got preoccupied myself with this fish, and I get 7, maybe 8 hits on the top water. Some of them connected just for a second and then fell off. But I think because they weren't properly committing, they just were saying, move away, that's my shrimp. That's what they were doing to the lures. So I'll keep covering my different options, see if I can trick a couple of more. I think there is a few big fish among the smaller ones, because I've seen a few very good waves, good signs. It's getting a bit quieter, there's not as many of them here as there was before. So maybe they start taking bigger lures soon. I have a smaller fly. Smaller sandal color fly as opposed to this bigger one. We'll see if that helps. Good fish. That's a good fish. That's a good fish. I just remembered my line broke. Last session during hectic fishing. And I was so busy, I just connected the 2 pieces of plate together. And I've never fixed that. See, all the weight on the line. That, whatever they were feeding on, was in that weight. Is it a good fish? sounds like a good fish. It sounds like a good fish. Oh yes, it's a big fish. It's a big fish. Small box of lures. Do life on the business end. Smallties are my beloved favorite Skyline 7.6 10 to 35. Absolutely perfect. And what a beast! What a beast! I can't believe it. Oh, such a fish. Oh, look at this. Just inhale the lure. Oh, that's a beast. Okay, measure it very quickly and put it back because that water is very warm. .78 centimeters beast. She'll definitely is over 9 pounds. She might be 10. I don't have weighing scales with me. What a beast. Oh.
I was absolutely on cloud 9, and I was on that cloud 9 for probably a couple of weeks. I was absolutely delighted with that fish. And obviously, to add to the list of the things that went wrong that day, breaking the rod, getting all the settings on the camera wrong, I've also broke my weighing scale just a couple of days earlier. It just stopped working. So I didn't have my weighing scales with me. I will never know the weight of that fish, but that fish was a few centimeters longer than my 914 and 915, and it was very well, big frame, well proportioned fish. So to me, it's a genuine double figure bass. I've no doubts about it, and I'm absolutely delighted with that. And now, what did I learn in that experience, and what did I would like to pass on to you? So hopefully you can learn a little bit of that. If you have a look at the take from that fish and what I was doing with my rod and a lure, I think there is something really in it. Did you see that? Did you see what I was doing with the rod there? So the fish hit this Do Live stick, and that's the only color of the Do Live sticks I use. If you don't know these lures, they cast like a bullet. They are salt infused, very heavy, small profiles. They work very well. I've have it with this weight hook. It's a twist lock size 5.0 hook. This is the exact lure I've got that fish on. But it's not about the lure, I think it's about the technique. So you've seen what I was doing with the rod. I've casted it out and I was jerking it. And I was jerking it fairly hard. Do you recognize that technique? Walking the dog? That looks familiar, doesn't it? At least half of my big fish, big 70s, actually came to that technique. And it's not a technique that I use very often. So usually what I do is either I reel in straight, slow, faster, or do two twitches and a pause, two twitches and a pause, two twitches and a pause. I love fishing this way, it's a very effective way. But then occasionally I apply the constant twitching method. Slow reeling, keeping tension and twitching. The lure will go absolutely bananas in the water. And I think it really triggers the big fish. If the fish will see a lure that is going slow, not very fast at all, but making loads of erratic movements, it really triggers those big fish, especially those big fish, because they don't want to be chasing lures at a high speed. They want an easy snack, and they want the lure that looks like it has a problem swimming and doing the normal thing and it's struggling. And I think that's what really gets their aggression going. You can work many lures this way, and I would have applied that tactic using different lures, Do Live Sticks, Slugo, Lunker City Slugo 7.5. Absolutely fantastic with that technique. It's a real killer, especially in the bouncy conditions. Something like a stick bite type of. This one is Evo Bass, Lance 160. They work very well as well. I got a few fish on waveworm white doing exactly the same technique, twitching. And you go on a day when nothing is happening, and then you start getting bored and you start twitching, and all of a sudden the big fish just go and slams that lures, and that happened to me quite a few times. And you know, the walk the dog lures are usually much more effective for bass than the typical poppers. There must be a reason why poppers are not getting that much traction as walk the dog. And really, if you have a log in the clear water, if you start twitching your Do Live Stick or your Lunker City, Waveworm, Evo Bass, they actually do exactly the same that walk the dog lures. And I think it's not a coincidence that the walk the dog type of lures going side to side are much more effective than the poppers. And I don't think it's a coincidence either that when you start applying this technique to your soft lures, you might trigger that big fish. So that's my tip. And thinking about it, the way I go about fishing is I love helping others, but I love figuring out things. And I do a lot of thinking when it comes to fishing. And thinking about it, on this particular lure, I've got 3 fish over 70 centimeters doing exactly the same thing, and I've got more fish on the wave worms and the sticks and the Lunker City Slugos doing exactly the same thing. The bouncier the conditions, the bigger the lure I will have. This I will have in a fairly nice and calm conditions, and if it gets really bouncy, I go to a 7.5-inch Slugo. But I'll keep this tactic into your repertoire or walking your lure. When you do a stride retrieve, when you do a few twitches, just every so often try this. Try walking the dog your soft lure and see what happens. So thanks for watching, thanks for staying for another video. I hope you found some value in it. If you did, you might consider sticking around for the next video by subscribing and giving it a like. Leave me a comment, tell me what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what do you think about this technique, and tight lines, guys. I'll see you at the next one.